Welcome to Finish the Fight, a gaming podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Reiners.
And I'm your host, Alex Kendall.
As you have kind of known us for the past year and a half.
Or not.
Or not, this may be your first time. You know, we were Finish the Fight, a Halo podcast.
Yeah, so what to expect from this new gaming podcast is we are a weekly show that does a deep dive and research into the production cycle of your favorite video games.
Yeah.
From the pre-production, post-production music, who worked on it, what was the response, what did it do for the gaming community itself, and give you a bit of an op-ed on, you know, why we chose it, what influence does it have in gaming, and just to give you the general knowledge of what it took to create, some of your favorite titles.
Yeah, and really, we're choosing a podcast format because sometimes, how this could be written out, it seems almost like a lecture, but we want to kind of just make it feel natural and you kind of understand what happened.
Yes. I mean, some of your favorite YouTubers kind of already do this content in bite-sized amounts. That's why we wanted to give you this more long form, give you just a lot more of that information overload that's not droning on, but it's interesting. And for those who really like the research or the idea of how is your game made, what happened? What silly stories are there? This will include interviews, extensive research through articles, videos, previous audio programs that person might have been on for these things, PR releases. So we're doing a deep dive into all of those things to really bring you some of the most concise, up-to-date, accurate info on these games so that you don't have to do it yourself.
Exactly. So so you can bring this up the next time you're online. You're like, hey, did you know actually about this game? But yeah, so really what we wanted to do is dive into who we are. Get to know us first before you dive into Finish the Fight, really. And I'll start this off with who I am. So we'll start with me. I'm your host. So let's start with me, Jesse Reiners. I am the host, main researcher, and editor for the podcast. And what I do, as a day job is I do the creative for a financial firm, Monday through Friday. And my podcast experience stems back all the way to 2017 when I had started the Iron Minds podcast with my two friends, because really, lifting podcasts aren't funny. They're very serious. If you go to a gym, you're going to have a lot of serious guys, let's face it, being bros. So what I wanted to do was make a lifting podcast that was funny. I wanted people to, see that there wasn't such a serious side to it, that we can make dumb jokes about dumb power lifters. But after a while, eventually it did lead to Finish the Fight, which we will talk about here soon.
Yeah, and I'm Alex Kendall. I am your host as well as Twitch streamer extraordinaire for the few times I do it. But I'll be handling the streams as well as a lot of the outreach to you guys and a lot of the business side of the podcast. So we've kind of melded our two creative and businessy sides together to kind of form this for you. In my day job, I run a photo studio and work as a photographer and director, and have been doing that for some years, and it's just been an awesome creative outlet. And that's really where Jesse and I started to meld our minds together to start this podcast out. I had really no experience with this. I just owned a lot of the equipment because I worked at Best Buy. So I bought a bunch of stuff. And that's kind of where Jesse and I started our first podcast together, Finish the Fight, a Halo podcast.
Yeah.
It all started, we kind of knew each other through your girlfriend. I had known her for a while.
Yeah.
And I had met you guys at, a couple little outings. I think it was our first thing a zombie pub crawl.
It was a zombie pub crawl. Yep.
Yeah. And so at this zombie pub crawl, we got to talking to each other and just, got to know each other a little bit, which was nice. And then I think really we had a couple more meetings, and then I typically host a Christmas party every year, and you two came over, and you and I had a couple bevies.
A few too many, maybe.
A few bevies, and Jesse's sloppily approaching me and talking about podcasting and stuff like that. And I'm like, I sure, dude. I mean, I own the stuff. I mean, we can do whatever you want. And that was December. Come February of 2018, Jesse's like, hey, you still want to do that podcast? And I just went, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, you're like, yeah, of course.
Okay, then in my mind, I went, I have no idea what he's talking about. Yep, that sounds great.
No, you texted. This is the first I knew about because you just went, yeah, let's do it.
Oh no, I had no idea what we talked about at all. I didn't see. I only know the Christmas party thing because you've retold it, and I was just like, "Yep, we talked about that. Ooh, maybe." So that's really where we started. And February's like, we should do one on Halo, and I'm like, dude, I haven't touched Halo. I don't know, in like 4 or 5 years. And you're like, yeah, but I mean, it's kind of niche. I mean, let's just play. And I said at the time at my previous photo studio, I was like, I have a spare office. You think that could work? I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I remember we met up that, shortly after we talked about it and went in and like, it was pre-planning from there is what I really appreciate that we did is we weren't, you weren't just like, I have this room, I have the podcast equipment, let's go. It was very much so we sat down and we did like a test recording in that room and we're like, let's get this to sound good.
Yes.
Because it was no ceiling, so it was very echoey. It sounds like we were just, like recording in a cathedral. But it was like, about 2 months of just planning and building out the studio.
Yeah, because our first episode launched late March, early April of 2018, which is another 0 episode like this, but also launched our first episode.
Yes.
Which was definitely an experience because I remember we started prepping the studio and I kind of leaned on you because you had some construction background to be like, what do we do about that ceiling? And you were just like, let's just build a makeshift roof. Let's encase this thing.
And then you saw my construction experience was it wasn't as good as I thought.
It was something. I mean, you can put nails into wood. And you can put thread into moving blankets.
Yeah, because our original ceiling was some moving blankets sewed together. Because I remember I came over one day to the studio and just hand sewed them all together.
And then we went to I know that you went to Goodwills and stuff and just got old pillows and blankets.
Because there was that window we had to stuff it in.
We just stuffed these crusty. These are questionable pillows that we shoved into those windows just to absorb any reverberation and sound and outside sound, as best as we could. And I think we got it to sounding, pretty good for what it was.
Yeah. I mean, we started this podcast with no budget. Because I even remember I was trying to figure out, because I had texted you. I didn't know you had the equipment. So I texted you. I was like, I think we're going to need this, this, and this. And I sent you the cheapest options. And you're like, you just replied with a bunch of photos. You're like, I have all of this. And I was like, oh, okay, let's do it.
I was like, I basically have $1,500 worth of equipment I've just had lying around just because I was cheap. And I was at Best Buy. And that's what you did when you worked there. You went, man, it's $100, but with that discount, it's $20. So I have to buy it. It's worth it. I'm not going to use it, but I have to get it.
Yeah. So luckily, you just had to get it, and it worked out.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where we started in there, and man, was it tough.
Yep. Every car, every person that walked by, we heard them.
Siren, crash, this, and that. You had it. So I mean, some of these episodes. Because in our previous podcast, the Halo podcast, I mean, some of our especially the first ones were 2 to 3 hours long, which record time, that was 4 to 5 hours.
Yes, it was rough.
With interruptions, quick breaks. Because, being in this old building, this kind of old warehouse that we converted, it wasn't great at retaining heat or retaining cool.
So we were freezing or sweating.
And just dying in there. Because obviously you have to turn your AC or your HVAC off to prevent any, noise. And that thing was loud in there.
Yeah, 'cause it was one of the ones when it would turn on, you'd hear it go,
yeah,
and then it'd go.
Yeah, and you couldn't hear yourself think at times. I'm like, that's got to go. So yeah, it's really where we started. And that was our roots with it. And to go back to the research element and the planning, we settled on Halo. I was like, man, I remember as a kid, I'm kind of excited. Let's jump into it. But what are we doing?
Yeah, that was the main thing. And I think, we've those retrospective videos on YouTube. I kind of okay, most of those they talk about the story itself, but they give a 5-minute blurb on the background. So that's when I was like, I'll draft up some notes, and it kind of just kept. The 5 minutes worth of notes kind of kept compiling and compiling and compiling. And I remember I even told Alex, I was like, you don't have to read from the script. It's fine. I'll guide it. And then when we first started recording, you actually just came in and started reading too. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. Because my previous podcast, I did a lot more of the work. So I kind of I came in, I was like, Alex, don't worry about it. I got it. So it was awesome that when we first started recording, that's when it kind of came in. And yeah, I think we just settled on let's do a lot more of the research, because that's also something we noticed is that there wasn't there's not a lot of backstory out there with video games in general, but especially with Halo. And that's I think we're really we enjoyed doing that is learning about it. And I loved doing the research, and I still love doing it. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it was one thing that we really wanted to push, like, because you already have, for Halo specific, a lot of lore podcasts, news, esports started to spring up at that time as some old esports guys started it up. So we thought there's nothing that really dives deep into the developmental cycle, into the pre-production, the post-production, who did the music, how was responses, and kind of our structure we have today for the content we're producing for all of you. And we wanted to roll with it. And so we started, how do we do it? What are we going to do in Halo? What are we doing? So I know Jesse came up with the idea, why not chronologically go through it? Start with the first piece of media that came out, and then continue on with each release date. So that included the games, the books, the comic books,
a board game
a board game, a movie, some TV stuff. So it really, really dived into a lot of that content that some of us didn't know, you know, or games we hadn't played in a while. So it was really neat to start that. And we expected nothing out of it.
I said I wanted a small following.
Yeah, like, because I knew Iron Minds had something. So I was like, yeah, I mean, if we get like 300 plays, 400 plays a year, I'm like, I'm cool with that.
That was saying, it was like, let's just find our small little following, like our little group.
Yeah, just have some fun with it. Well, it did a bit better than we thought.
Yeah, we got that much in like the first month or so, which was cool in and of itself right there.
Yeah, and so that really started us being like, okay, well, we have to do a Discord. And I know I wanted to spearhead a lot of this because I know you've played 3 video games in your entire life before this. So I wanted to.
And now I've played 5.
Now you've played 5. So I wanted to jump in and do more of on the gamer side. I'm like, have you used Discord? You're like, I know about it. I'm like, well, let's get a Discord started. I'll run that. I'll run the Discord. I can run the YouTube. I can run these things and really get that community engagement up. And it's crazy how much that exploded. Because I know we had Instagram and Twitter and stuff at the time, and we were kind of communicating with people on there. But I was like, why don't we start this up? Like, let's get like a community where we can actually touch base with them. And that expanded out. You know, that blew up. You know, we started a Patreon to start giving more bonus content and just so much more to give everybody. Game nights, exclusive things. It's just exploded from there. And I can't say how grateful and thankful I am for you for doing so much of the research. Thankful for the fans. Thankful, you know, for Evan and Jackie and all these other people who've helped us along the way, and Jessica, who've really helped us to start to build this.
Yeah. It's not just been us doing it. We have had people help us out, and really, it shows. And again, like, you having, you know, that business side of it has helped a lot. Even with just like the Discord, I love our Discord. It's fun. Like, we have a lot of dumb little jokes. Like, you even made an emoji out of like a dog that we always see. Z. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So I love the community engagement of it. You know, and I'm always pretty business mindset with a lot of stuff to just make sure that it makes sense for us to do it, but also makes sense for the community to get it. You know, I don't want to put out bad content. I don't want to put out. I mean, there's been multiple times where we've finished an episode, cut it, put it together, and went, that doesn't work.
We did it for literally Combat Evolved. Was not our first draft. We did it. And I remember we recorded our first Meet the Hosts, and we were really excited. So then we went into Combat Evolved, and we did it, and it was just kind of like, we were like, okay, see ya. Like, I'll see you later. And then, like, we called each other, and it was like, we both said at the same time, like, let's re-record the episode.
Yeah, we just didn't know what we were doing. Like, we didn't have a flow, an idea. We had the notes, but, you know, we still didn't vibe off each other at that time to, like hit that stride.
Well, like, we had, honestly, by the time we had recorded, we had hung out about as many times from that Christmas party to, like, when we recorded. We, like, maybe 10 or 12 times. And, like, half of those times were us just meeting up, getting drunk, and like just talking about wrestling and video games and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Jesse and I flourished a pretty good friendship in this. But before that, I wouldn't say we were friends. I say we were more acquaintances that came together to kind of do this. And so it's been really cool. I mean, you know, to have that as well. But yeah, I mean, it's somehow, you know, listen, we found our Bumble. We found our Tinder date together. We found this match, and it just really meshes well.
And we are two completely different people that I don't think should mesh.
But we do.
But we do.
and it works out. I think we both complete the aspect of it. You have such a driven mindset on things like notes. Like I have such a scatterbrain. I'm still working on an episode. It's taking me forever. And Jesse's like, I got 30 done. And I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. Anyway, I've done some notes. So I mean, having that's been huge, and having, Jesse learned a lot of artistic styles for our new branding and animations, and just like, if Jesse finds something he likes, he gets down and does it and puts his nose to the grind and gets it done. And that's what's really driven this podcast. And, and we've disagreed on some stuff. I know at first, going back to even Evan, research assistant, I'm like, dude, no one's going to want to work on this.
Yeah, you were very, I don't want to say against it. You were just like, why are you bothering with this?
Mine was just that cautionary, like, we got to make sure it fits our brand. We got to make sure it fits like our market sense. We got to make sure that they know that what they're working on and that who they are and to mesh. And you put out interviews. You did interviews with people and found Evan. And we said, well, he sucks, but we'll keep him. No, but Evan's been great. I mean, I know you are closer with him, like especially on your calls and things like that. But the times, we've gotten to play together and talk together. Evan's a great guy.
When he talks to you. Sometimes he doesn't want to talk to me. Hey. It's fine. I get it. Alex doesn't want to talk to me sometimes.
That's true. I just put you on mute blast. The opposite of blast. So yeah, it's really where we started with this, and so we're going to continue this on. And, we make the joke, we're going part-time, full-time on this. Yeah. In our previous podcast, the Halo 1, we had 2 mainline episodes a month, so every 2 weeks. And then we do a bonus episode that our patrons would vote on that would be released sometime in that month, kind of either in the middle or the beginning, whatever fit the schedule the best. Mm-hmm. We're now shifting that content, mostly because we're making the episodes a little shorter, a little less lore building, and a little bit more, what you're going to hear a lot in this podcast, the meat and potatoes of it. We're giving you 4 a month. It'll be released the same time our Halo 1s did on Fridays. And if you're a patron, we're doing an exclusive show there as well, which is an extra 2 episodes a month, plus extra content. And if you have any questions on that, reach out to us on social or check out our Patreon at patreon.com/finishthefight. That's where you'll be able to see a lot of the content. But reach out if you have any questions at all on those things. But yeah, so we're just going to be producing a lot more content for you guys with that.
Which I will say, even going from 2 to 4 episodes a month was something we talked about for a while.
Yes, and because we were already doing 3 with the bonus. We're like, really, what's 1 more? Mm-hmm. And
then we're like, what's 2 more for the patrons?
What's just like 1 a day? So we're going to be fitting that in our schedule. And like I said at the beginning, I started streaming in 2020, September?
Sometime around then.
August, September, October?
July.
Maybe July?
I don't remember. It's a blur.
Our first one we did a script reading, which was a voted on patron thing.
That was July, I think.
That was July. That was our first official stream together where we drank a little too much.
And we weren't supposed to.
And I don't remember the end of the episode.
I don't remember getting home.
All I know is apparently Jesse fell on my floor.
Because what we were doing is we had the script and we were throwing it on your hardwood floor, and I slipped on the paper.
Don't remember any of that. I'm surprised I stopped the stream. But yeah, that was when we first started it, and I think we had a blast because we were talking with chat, and I get why streamers stream. Chat is addicting.
Yes.
Like being able to be like, oh yeah, what's going on? Like and have people like have this weird conversation. It's an exhibitionist thing. Like you're doing your thing. People are interested in it. So, I've been doing, like you said, the game night streams, a couple dabbles here and there, a Halloween one. And we've had some really good feedback on that. And we're going to be doing it regular throughout the new podcast. It's going to be 3 times a week or so, depending on, once again, we're not doing this full time. So if our schedules freak out and we're both crazy busy, we may have to do something else. But for now, it's going to be about 3 times a week, give or take a day or two added in for some new content. But
yeah, and it's really, we want to be more interactive with people and make this more than just a podcast. I mean, I think as of right now, Finish the Fight is a community. In my opinion, podcasts are not defined by the content; they're defined by their listeners.
And I think that's it. And I think it's been amazing. I know when everyone signs up, like, I love Halo, it's great. And we're like, yeah, we do too. But then it morphs into just so much more. We have all these like offshoot conversations in our Discord. I know we have conversations that spiral into news and gaming, or like, what's the hit movie, or like, how are your dogs doing? Like, we have a pets channel, which I love. And so it's just really cool to see this community grow and be accepting. and to just be a really positive community. That was our thing from the onset too. We're like, dude, if there's negative stuff, it's gone.
That's essentially the biggest rule. Don't be an asshole through and through. Like, just, be welcoming. And we've had people say that it's a welcoming community. And like, even going to like Halo, one of the biggest topics is liking Halo 5. And people have told us, I liked Halo 5. We said, okay, great. Yeah. We're never going to judge someone based on that.
Yeah, it's just no point. It's just none of us made it. It's not like our prized possession we made. So like we hold our opinions, but we don't hold them for the hill to die upon. It's just,
and we don't hold them over your head either. Yeah. It's just our opinion, and that's why we talk about it at the end of an episode. Like, this is what we thought about it, but obviously the games we talk about are well beyond two podcasters' opinions.
100%. And so, with this new podcast that our old fans are getting and the new ones, welcome. Like I said, the 4 episodes a month on those Friday releases. Patrons will get, like I said, a new show that will be exclusively for them, and they'll be able to vote on some of that. That's kind of where bonus episodes are going, is going to be into that Patreon exclusive content. Mm-hmm. We're going to be launching new merch, whether that's out now, Alex did it, or it's not, Alex is working on it. That'll be coming to match our color scheme that you see. I really love the colors that Jesse chose. We really did a deep dive around to see what was there. We didn't want anything that was too like primary color, like in your face, punching you with color.
Which, even a side note, this whole rebranding thing took months. It was, again, every decision we made for this transition was broken down. And do we do it? Do we not? And again, we spitballed dozens of ideas of how we're going to rebrand this, what the new cover photo is going to be, all that stuff. And it was just like, a lot of the times you're just like, we're both just like, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's just trial and error. And like I said, it is kind of like a job. It's running a business. It's talking about the marketing, talking about the content, talking about community outreach. But it's business for fun. I mean, it's once again, we're not in this for the money at all right now. But now we're in this to keep producing content. Like, anything that's coming through our Patreon, we've reinvested wholeheartedly into this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like we haven't paid ourselves, other than that great vacation I took earlier this year.
Yeah. Other than our vacation to Bermuda and the Bahamas to open a bank account, that's the only thing we've done. No, so it's allowed us to upgrade our recording equipment. It's allowed us to get a streaming setup. It's allowed us to start producing more things within our merch and within giving us even an emergency fund. Like, let's say a mic breaks, we could immediately go buy one. Yeah. Instead of like trying to be like, do you got $40 to give? Do you got this? Yeah. It's like, we have it.
Yeah, and it also just having some kind of income that the podcast now pays for itself. It justifies putting more hours in this. We're both working 40 hours a week. You probably more than me, but especially both of our jobs can get kind of hectic and stressful. Yeah. So then, clocking out of that, coming straight to this, like, it's awesome that, again, the podcast pays for itself. And we have people who are wanting to hear from us.
Yeah. So let's kind of dive into the content that we're going to cover. To really break it down on what we're doing, how we're going to do community input, plenty of things like that. So to start off, obviously, as you see here to your right or left or down or above, our first episode is going to be Destiny.
Yes.
So it is kind of this nice transition we had from Microsoft that did the Halo franchise, specifically Bungie, who did the first 1, 2, 3 plus a couple, handful side games for Halo.
You say their names.
I will not say their names. They're not my favorites. But they worked on the Halo franchise. They have since, in the late 2000s, Bungie split from Microsoft to kind of start their own project in Destiny. So so we wanted to give this kind of bridge episode to start it off. So let us know what you think of that. And we're not just doing shooter genres. We're not just doing offshoots of companies. We have, a mixed bag of it, which I think is really refreshing too. I know you and I kind of got burnt out on Halo, kind of covering the same thing over and over and over.
Yes, absolutely.
Not that we didn't enjoy the content we made or put the effort into it. It was just the Halo thing again, or covering some of the Halo stuff that no one really liked. Yeah. It was kind of tough at times. But this will be like a breath of fresh air. And if you guys just aren't a fan of Halo, I'm definitely welcome you into this community to see just the different games we're going to cover. And we're not just exclusively keeping it to consoles or modern day or PC.
Any generation. Like, it's going to be, we're going to be covering games from the 80s or maybe even the 70s, and we have games as, that we're covering as, that came out just 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I want to cover even more stuff. Like we're talking about some Japanese imports or Japanese exclusives. We're talking about games that maybe had a player base of 4, but it has an interesting story to it and an interesting development cycle. We want to bring those out there just so you can kind of see what it took to create some of your favorite, some of your least favorite, some games you've never heard of, and hopefully you can now take that with you and have either that bit of knowledge or have like, hey, you know what? I do kind of want to try that game.
Yeah, and I think as well as clarification. I mean, there is stuff that I've looked up where, doing research for these games, I'll watch a YouTube channel on it, and someone says something like, that's entirely wrong, and I go and I double check. I'm like, I think that was just kind of like an ad-libbed fact, but really diving in and seeing some of these rumors, like even my girlfriend has told me the backstory of a game we've covered, and I like went to her later and I was like, that was not true whatsoever, just so you know. And she's just like, well, my story's better. I'm sticking with that one. She's like, mine's more fun.
Yeah, because I think you and I talked about that. I was like, I put that game a lot. I don't think that's how it went. And you're like, no. I know. I have a great source. Who? Don't worry about it. No, so we're going to be covering a lot of games that you and I have played, but a lot of them that we have not.
There is a lot of new territory because, the ongoing joke is, yes, I haven't played a lot of video games, but this year alone, I've played a lot more just doing this podcast. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and to dive into that and have a reason to, because I know, us being on that boomer train of being in our late 20s, it's tough to find the hours to justify playing games. I have the hours to play them, but I have so much other stuff I have to do.
I have a girlfriend who really just wants to watch Love Island and 90 Day Fiancé, so...
Well, there is that. But anyway, I have responsibilities that I have to take care of, and I totally agree. It's spending time with others and mixing those things in. That's where I really wanted to kind of justify it by streaming.
Which it makes sense, and I did. Even the few times you do it during the week, I tune in and watch because it's fun, and I love interacting.
Yeah, and it's fun having the crowd. So that, to give you an idea on streams too, that will tie in with our weekly episodes. So we will be doing a playthrough or a look at the game that we have covered. So it'll release Friday. That next week we'll cover that game. That way you have a chance to listen to the episode, get some facts, fact check me on the stream in case I'm wrong. And we'll play through as much as we can within like that 3-day time period. And I would love to add some more content to it. Some offshoots. One thing I've been really digging are Pokemon randomizers. So if anyone wants to do that,
probably no more drunk casts for the foreseeable future, unless there's a big enough demand. But then again, maybe. And
there might be, like a goal to reach. Like if we get like a Twitch donation goal or something like that, we may do something along those lines. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, we want to tie that content in to like you said, this is more than a podcast at this point. It's more of, and I don't want to call it we're not
a production company.
We're not really. I don't know what we are. We're content creators.
Yeah, we're just beyond a podcast at this point, but we're just kind of unsure where that weird area is that we are.
Yeah, we're just kind of dabbling in everything, which has been fun. So I'm excited about it. One thing we want to do, and one thing we'll eventually have, is a really interactive website that we'll be able to view all of our content, polls, suggestion. I want to do like a suggestion box. Yeah. Like of games that you want to see, or like hot tips. Like, hey, I have a connection with Konami. I have a connection with this person. Like, would you like to touch them? Because interviews is another thing we want to add in.
Yeah, and that one's not as like when we were doing Halo stuff. Everyone's like, get Halo interviews. When you have a company that's neck deep and have their head down in that content, no one, it's no. Like, unless it's for, any of these official publications. Like, believe it, it's not as easy as it seems. We have reached out to people in the past and talked to them, but...
And it's been great. So I think having, I don't want to say dead games, but having older games... Tony Hawk Pro Skater, for example, obviously had a release, but like the older one that worked on PlayStation N64, things like that, who worked on that? Can we talk to someone in that realm?
From Neversoft, yeah.
Yeah, so can we talk to people who've done that, Naughty Dog, whatever, who's worked on an older title, newer title? It would just be really cool to bring that on, because I love getting those viewpoints of what it was like to work in that environment.
Yeah, and something I want to clarify really quick is a question that I have been asked a lot is, say we cover a Call of Duty game. People have asked, well, are you going to do just Call of Duty 1, 2, 3, 4, and like do a whole list of them. That's not what we're going to do.
Yes.
So one week we'll do, say, a Call of Duty game. Next week we'll jump over to a Sonic game.
Yeah, something along those lines, something that's more impactful. Some of them we will do the first one because that may have had the most impact on the company or the most impact in that series. And we may cover another one later.
Yeah, we may go backwards a little bit.
But I don't want to do, like you said, like Super Mario Bros. 1, Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 3, All-Star Collection. You're like, I don't want to do that because that kind of fits our Halo format, which kind of burned us out, and I think burns out fans. If you don't like Super Mario, you now have a month and a half of not liking our content.
Yeah, and as well as, we're not going to be doing 3-4 episodes in a row that are just first-person shooters. We want to keep the variety there as much as possible and fresh. So even if one week you do not like first-person shooters, no matter what, the next week you are fine.
Yeah, it may be a racing simulator or a Sims game or, Plants vs. Zombies or whatever is out there. Like we're still doing research on a lot of stuff, but it may be something that fully changes that landscape that'll be out there. So and I'm excited too because I have a lot of stuff and ideas planned for this website that we're talking about and the new content and just getting you guys a lot of bang for your buck, whether it's your literal buck through Patreon, Twitch, or donations, or it's your time and effort in the community. We want to make sure that those things are recognized and appreciated. And so, we're here for you. We're here to listen to, your opinions on it. I mean, we're open to any and all opinions. Will we accept them and agree with some of them? Maybe not, but a lot of them we want to hear how you feel about it. How's the content feeling? Is this what you expected? Do you like it? Do you want to see more of this or that? So, like I said, this is really open to all of you and really, really excited to, kind of continue along with it.
Yeah, and if you came from the Halo side of the podcast, it's, for the most part, the content's going to be still there, the same. We are, we're not really going to change things up too much. What you know and what you love is going to continue to happen. Like, as I said, we want to give you guys, as I said, if you have, if 100 of you or 1,000 of you come to us and say, cover the first Grand Theft Auto, the first top-down one before you do anything else. And yeah, we'll listen. Like, that's what we want to do, is listen and continue to listen, as Alex said. So we're open to suggestions. If a lot of you, we've already gotten plenty of people who have said, you should do this, and we're listening. Believe it or not, we're not just like, okay, cool. Like, we're keeping track of everything that we hear, essentially. But yeah, so if you haven't already, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Give us a like and follow in there. If you have any questions about, say, Patreon, where you can go to patreon.com/finishthefight, shoot us a message and we'll answer any of those questions, as well as, we talked about streaming. If you haven't gone to twitch.tv/sourman70 and subscribe to that already, please do.
And all these links, whether you're on YouTube or anywhere, it's available down below, left, right, up, down. It'll be there, as well as messaging us on social. We'll get you there. We have a link tree on our Instagram, so anything that you need to get is within that, in the bio type thing, as well as just Discord. Hit us up. We'll have the links in there.
Yep.
I think I keep meaning to do this, but I'll put like a links channel or like a meet us channel where like you can find all of our social, or like anything that we recommend will be in there. So we'll have those things. But yeah, come check it out. You may see some confusion and some switching, depending on when you listen to this episode. If you listen to it day one, the Discord has been switched around because we've obviously altered it from our Halo content to kind of all content, but it'll be in there for you.
Yeah, but it's this has been a year in the making, and we're so glad to start the new year off with this new content. And we're so excited, and we're just ready to unleash everything that we've, all the other episodes we've done so far.
Yeah, and shout outs to all of those who supported us through Halo. I know there's some day oneers that are still with us. Absolutely love you guys. And everyone who's brand new to it or just now discovering us for our Halo content, like, there's plenty of it. Please enjoy it.
Really quick, all the old Halo stuff will stay online.
Yes.
We are not removing that whatsoever.
Yeah, so that'll be all the mainline games plus a lot of the extra content that's in it. Please check that out. And we'll still have a space, like I said, in the Discord specifically for Halo chat, to have it in there. And to keep that going, because that's still, a year and a half, year and 3/4 podcast. So there's still a lot of content in there for you to absorb and eat up. And we'll still keep all that bonus content on Patreon. So all the bonus episodes, post shows, everything else that's on there from our Halo content will remain.
So if you want to binge, you can go binge.
Yeah, so it'll be there for you. But yeah, all of our new stuff will be starting over at 0. So that's this episode. 1 will be Destiny. Our Halo numbers will be their own. So they'll end at 47.
I believe so,
and bonus episode 16. So those will be the 2 ending numbers for those. But yeah, from there, we'll have all the new content. I'm very, very excited to keep you here. Or if you're brand new, hello, welcome.
Welcome.
I am Jesse. Oops, I mean Alex. I do that all the time. No, I don't. But yeah, welcome. Welcome to Finish the Fight, a gaming podcast. I hope you're here a while.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
And we're going to be here for the long haul, folks.
Yeah, so we'll either see you back or we'll see you soon.